Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first episode of the Uncompressed podcast, man. I'm very excited to get the podcast launched. I got a lot of things, just to give you guys some insight, I got a lot of things coming up, doing some interviews, just really audio engineers in general, some producers, some artists, just different things of that nature. And I've been trying to get this thing launched for a quick minute. I finally have gotten a chance to really just sit down and kind of draw out how things are going to happen. And really, to be honest, the launch of this basically was kind of geared for my Instagram forum. I started this YouTube channel maybe like late March, early April. And since then, I really don't post on Instagram much, but a lot of you guys that I've, gotten to talk to on my YouTube channel, whether it was like via comments or whatever, a lot of you guys have came and added me on Instagram. And I've been getting a lot of questions in Instagram as to, hey, look, I looked at your video, but I also want to know about this. And, could I do this and X, Y, and Z? And so sometimes I catch myself typing like this very, very lengthy reply. And sometimes, like, I'm a very, very technical person. And sometimes when I go back and I read it, and I'm just like, did I really explain that right? Or did I explain that well? Sometimes I see like maybe I might have left out a key thing that I wanted to say. So I was like, man, you know what? To answer a lot of these general questions, I'm gonna just go ahead and start my podcast. I do sports podcast stuff, on like different occasions, different days. I do that mostly on TikTok. I do have the 4 or 5 podcasts that I do. Basically, is based around Houston sports, right? So, and I was like, man, I need to start one for my audio channel because I feel like I could answer a lot of general questions that's coming in to Instagram, make a video about it, this and that and the third. So here I am, the Uncompressed podcast. Like I said, I'm excited for the launch, man. And to give you a little insight about me, okay, I'm an audio engineer, been doing this for about 12 years, and guys, still learning. I ask questions about this stuff all day, every day. This stuff changes constantly, day to day. We're in a tech driven world. This stuff always changes, okay? But I've been doing it for 12 years. I got my start in audio. I used to DJ, okay? So I used to DJ in college. I've DJ'd downtown Houston clubs, private events, and stuff like that, right? So I'm Houston based. I'm from Houston. I'm a Houston native. And so I have friends that are producers and engineers and stuff. And man, like after a while, I kind of just fell in love with the process of, just music in general, from the recording process to how it's mixed to getting it to the final, process before it gets to your ears. So I kind of fell in love with that, man. And I kind of been just doing it ever since, man. So here we are. Okay. And so the first question, it came from a guy. Like I said, it's if you don't have my Instagram, you can go follow me on Instagram. It's in my bio on this page. Add me on there if you have a question, or hey, if you want to hit me up about maybe possibly being on here for an interview or a guest one day. Please do so. But go follow me on Instagram. That's where you can definitely reach me with the quickness. Okay. But the first question came from an artist, right? And that's why this is titled Hardware versus Plugins, right? So he had a 2-part question, right? And the question basically went as he watched one of my videos. He notices that I have hardware. So his first question was, can I use hardware as a plugin, right? And the simple answer to that question is yes. Okay. His second question kind of tied in with the first one, but he basically was stating, since you have hardware, excuse me, guys, since you have hardware, why don't you use it on as a plugin on more of your channels in your process, right? And so the answer to that will be, you can, but that's why hardware is so pricey, because of the simple fact it can't be used on multiple channels at a time. That's why the plugins are so valuable, because if you have something that can imitate like the 1176 or whatever. Hey, I could take that plugin and I can put it on multiple channels or as many channels as my computer system or my DAW system will allow me to do so. Okay. When it comes to hardware, though, okay, once I use it on a channel, once I go to try to open it on another, bus or mixed bus, two things are probably going to happen. The first thing will probably be a grayed out slot. Okay, that'll be the first thing. The second thing, you probably get a message saying, hey, this is already in use on another channel. Now, this tech hasn't been invented just yet. It's probably being worked on while I'm, even doing, this episode. It could be already in the works. I don't know. But there isn't something that's out yet that allows me to buy one piece of hardware equipment and be able to use it on multiple channels in Pro Tools. That's why when you go to studios, that's why they have, multiple compressors, maybe through their, the IOs of their interface, or some, bigger studios use patch bays. We'll talk about patch bays in another video. I don't want to deep dive on it too much, but that's why when you go to these big professional studios, there's a ton of equipment. There's a ton of equipment. They may even have three of the same, compressors. Maybe one of those compressors is being used for the lead vocals. The other one is being used for stacks. The other one is being used for background vocals if they are very technical about using hardware into their, mixing process. And true, when it comes to hardware, it does, depending on what type of hardware you have, it does give your vocals and stuff a lot more character than a plugin would. That's why a lot of professionals use hardware gear. Now, in this day and age, it's not the end all be all, guys, especially if you have a home studio. If you have a good microphone, if you have a good audio interface, you can get your character from there. And then you can kind of, fix and do things inside your DAW or what have you to, kind of make up for what you don't have hardware wise. But in a general sense, like I said, to answer his question, yes, you can use, hardware as plugins. It's just limited. That's why you have to have multiple versions of it. Myself, I have a mono bus compressor, and I also have a stereo bus compressor. That stereo bus compressor, sometimes I use it on stacks and ad libs, sometimes, and only because your stacks and ad libs, I might have it panned, to the right this much, or panned it, to the left this much. So that's why I needed, the compressor to be stereo. And sometimes if I don't use it on vocals, I may use it in my mastering process sometimes. But like I said, once I activate, like for example, let's say you guys, if I was recording one of you guys and you give me some stacks to use, right? And I say, well, man, I want to use this stereo bus compressor hardware on these stacks. Once I activate it on those stacks, I can't use it anywhere else in the system unless I route more stuff to that bus that it's on, right? So if I had an ad libs channel over here, I couldn't take the stereo bus compressor that's already being used as a plug-in for the stacks and bring it over here to the ad libs. The system would not allow me. I would have to actually route those ad libs into that bus where it's already, where that compressor is already live at. So I hope that answers the question. Like I said, I'm going to be bringing, making more part videos to generally answer, you guys' questions instead of sitting there typing out long versions of it. Hey, you may have a question that somebody else may have as well, but maybe they don't use Instagram, or maybe they, have other platforms that they're on that they use. So maybe they're not on Instagram to be able to add me to ask questions. So that's what the Uncompressed podcast is going to be for, to answer general questions, the questions that you guys give me. Hey, maybe there's somebody else that may have had that same question. Maybe it'll answer them too if they stumble upon this video. But like I said, guys, I'm Corey Mixed It, Uncompressed podcast. This is episode 1. Like I said, be on the lookout. I got some stuff coming out. Like I said, I will be bringing guys in for interviews. Like I said, producer wise, artist wise, engineer wise, that have worked with different artists in different tiers, whether maybe they're kind of popular, maybe mid indie that you guys may know, or like I said, a bunch of independent artists that they work with. I kind of have a mixture of that too. Some of the artists I've worked with, maybe they're on a better tier than others. I don't really put anyone above anybody. If I have your work and I'm mixing it, I like to attack it and make everything sound good. So be on the lookout for that. I'm Corey Mixed It. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Uncompressed Podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe. Definitely hit the notification bell as these podcast episodes come out, man. Until then, I'll catch you guys. Peace.